Hi, I'm Mariella from Magical Daydream, and today I would like to talk about a topic that I know you might struggle with, and it's how do I make more time for creativity in my life? How do I create a life where I'm constantly inspired and want to create things? So you might be in a place where you're here and you don't have time, you don't have the energy to make something beautiful, maybe, or you simply don't know how to fit everything in. And over here is a scenario where you're filled with creative energy and inspiration and you're creating the whole time. And the problem is there's a gap between the scenario now and the scenario that you might want to be in. And it can be difficult to go from the one place to another. So what I did is I created a product that will actually work as a catalyst to go from here to here. And the thing is that often we tell ourselves that we don't have time to create things and to be creative. But what's really the case is more often than not, we do have snippets of time here and there. You might find yourself at one evening in the couch not knowing what to do, or you might know what to do, but you just don't feel like it. And I think what often happens is that you just don't feel it's inspired. You want to create things, but you don't know what, or you know what, but you just are not feeling it. So what I did is I created an instant inspiration kit. So basically what this is, it's a poster collection of loads and loads and loads of ideas. And so each poster is a different category, and each category has a set of ideas. And so, for example, one category might be picture prompts or drawing prompts. Another poster might be things to do when you're bored or ways to surprise your partner in a creative and fun way. Bucket list ideas, questions to ask when you're stuck in a boring conversation, last minute costume ideas, last minute present ideas. And the thing is, with so many ideas, you will often find a couple that will spark something in you that will be like, well, maybe I don't want to do this, but at least this idea really gets me going, and suddenly you want to create again. And that's what I'm aiming for. And so I know what it's like to be in a state where you feel like you don't have time for creativity, or where you're feeling completely stuck. And I used to be in that place. A couple of years ago, I was still studying, and I mean, my study was probably like at least 40 hours a week. And then I had my family and friends, and I had several activities in the evenings, and I just felt like my life was so full of things. And I basically really did feel like I have no time to be creative and to do things that I liked. But somehow that changed. And I guess it was more a mindset. But I went from not making time for creativity at all to creating a blog that I have now, Magical Daydream, folding 1,000 paper cranes, doing all these do-it-yourself projects, and making canvas paintings, doing all these crazy projects. So I know it's possible, and I know it's possible for you as well. And I guess I just wanted to share my experience and to see, well, how can I use this creative vibe that I often feel and make it into something that I can share to make sure that you will also find it easier to create. Because I want you to be in a state where you make time for not only creativity but more general doing things you love and feeling energized and feeling positive about life. And that's really what I want to offer. So what I want to do now is just share a quick list of steps that I often use myself to make my dreams reality. And dreams sounds really big, or goals, or creative goals, but it really can be anything. It can be very big, like um, writing a children's book, but it can also be tiny, tiny. And tiny can be so small as making one sketch, or making a canvas painting, or knitting a scarf, or whatever it is that you want to do. So there are 7 steps I will tell you them. First step: write down all your creative goals. Doesn't matter how big or small they are, just write them all down. And don't worry about if they're feasible or not, if you have the time or energy to do them. Just write down all the things that you would like to do. Next step, step 2. You pick one. Only pick one, and it can either be the one that excites you the most or the one that you think, well, this one is doable. Just pick whatever one that speaks to you the most. The third step is to write down all the things, all the tasks that you can possibly think of that you would need to do to accomplish this goal. So let's say, for example, you picked the goal of I'm gonna paint a canvas. Then other things that you could write down was, for example, one would be buying a canvas. The second would be getting my paints from out of the basement or attic. Another one would be think of a subject, and maybe you would even have a sub step there of finding reference material or brainstorming or whatever it is. And so you start to list all these different ideas, all these different tiny and big steps and tasks that you can think of that you would need to do to reach your goal. For the fourth step, you're gonna look at all your tasks and then you're gonna group them together. So all the things that maybe require you to go into the city and buy some things, go together. All the things that are there that you need to do before you even start painting, you do together. And you not only group them per subject, but you also group them per sequence. So what step do you need to do first? And priority, what is the most important thing? And after you have organized everything, I would like to ask you to do one thing, and that's to commit. Not say to yourself, well, I might try to do it one day, or like, well, when I have time. Really say to yourself, I'm going to make this happen. And it's not about timing. It's not about how fast you finish it, but it is about making a serious effort that you are going to do this. Step 6 is you're going to pick one thing from the list and do it. And ideally, it should be something that is the highest priority. And ideally, you should take one tiny steps every day to reach your goal. And this can be tiny, 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 tiny. So don't make it too large, otherwise you won't do it. An alternative for doing it every day would be to set aside one big block of time to do this. Just like you schedule time for a meeting or for meeting a friend or for doing certain things that you need to do, you also need to block time for doing creative work, otherwise you will just not do it. So for example, you might say, okay, Tuesday from 8 till 9:30, I'm gonna only paint and do nothing else. And the seventh step, this one is also important, you want to keep this list, this goal, somewhere in a place where you see it, where you're constantly reminded of it. And that will help tremendously in actually doing it. So those were 7 steps you can take to stop procrastinating and start doing things you love. One side note is the importance of writing this stuff down. That's already like half of reaching your goal. And it might seem silly, but they did this research in which they compared people who wrote down New Year's resolution versus people who only imagined it but didn't write it down. And they found like after 12 months, they checked in with both groups, and the people who didn't write their New Year's resolutions down, only 4% of the whole group accomplished their goals. Whereas the group of people who did write their goals down, 44% of the people accomplished their goals. So really, writing it down and taking a couple of minutes to write your goals down, that's really, really important. And I would strongly urge you to do that, at least if you want to get serious about having fun in your life. Now back to the instant inspiration kit that I was talking about. I will relaunch this thing next week, and you might have still some reservations. Like you may say, but I already have a ton of ideas and I'm not even making time for that. Or you might think, well, I'm an epic procrastinator. You might be afraid that if you buy it, it will just end up on the shelf and you won't do anything with it. Or you may say, well, they're beautiful posters, but I simply don't have the space to hang them. I will go into these different reservations a bit deeper in my next video, in which I will be mainly talking as well about what you can do to keep inspired. So this was more from a kind of self-discipline, procrastination part, which is taking a negative and turning it into a positive, or at least trying to do that. But the other thing is just to embrace the positive in general in your life and to make sure that you feel inspired and you're taking enough things, you have enough things in your life that make you feel inspired and make you feel like you want to create. So I hope these 7 steps helps you to bring more creativity in your life. If you have any questions about what I said or any thoughts, you can just leave a comment or email me. and I will do my best to respond to. So thank you very much, and I will be back very soon with a new video talking about how to keep inspired and what things you can do to do that. Thank you.